Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is speak up. Makes me picture one of those old school ear cones, like, speak up. And of course, we're going to talk about this from multiple angles. For sure, there are those that it would be supportive for you to be heard, for you to potentially be understood, or for you to be received if you would speak up, if you would literally be louder. There's a lot of mumbling going on in the world. A lot of just, and you may even begin with like a robust, like, oh yeah, here's something I'm thinking, and then you just trail off and mumble. So yes, there's value in telling many two-leggeds to speak up. Open your throat chakra. Fill your throat chakra with brilliant blue light. Breathe blue light into that throat center, releasing any conversation you've ever had around nobody cares when I speak, it doesn't matter what I say, any of these thought forms that can literally start to close down the volume at which you speak, your willingness to share yourself. So in one slice of the pie of what I call speak up, I'll say, are you speaking at a volume under which people hear you? Are you mumbling? Are you speaking under your breath? Are you sharing yourself in a way that is clear and comprehensive to the listener? So be heard. Be heard. But another slice of the pie of speak up and how I want to talk about this topic is, for many people, they are in dysfunctional and unhealthy relationships. And there's a lot of ways and directions that can show up. Usually both parties contribute to an unhealthy relationship, and there's work on both ends. If you're having an unhealthy romantic relationship or friendship, both people have responsibility in what's going on. When there's a breakdown, it happens on both sides. And so one of the considerations is, if you're in an unhealthy romantic partnership, let's say you're dating someone and you constantly feel crazy or like there's something wrong with you, and before you dated this person you didn't feel crazy all the time, or like there was something wrong with you, it might be good to speak up, speak to your family members, speak to your friends about the nature of your relationship. Take a quiz on emotional abuse, because gaslighting is an experience in which a person, and I don't think it's necessarily always malicious intent behind it, it's just their brain programming causes them to be a gaslighter or an emotional abuser. And a gaslighter and an emotional abuser is going to make you feel like you're crazy. They're going to be like, no, I don't remember that, or no, they're going to constantly make you feel like you're nuts, because they will delete, they are willing to omit information that is truth, that was present, in order to win the argument, win the hour, win the moment. So for a lot of people, if you are in a physically, mentally, or emotionally abusive relationship, one way to know that is to recognize, if, usually relationships don't start at birth, so to recognize, how have I felt through the majority of this relationship, and how did I feel before it? Have I always felt this way? Have I felt in the past couple of years like I'm not funny? And I used to, before I dated this person, feel like I was funny all the time. Lots of people were laughing at me. It's another action of an emotional abuser, is to just be like, you're not funny, or to be critical. So one thing I do know about emotional abusers is they will try to isolate you from your friends and family. And the reason they try to isolate you from your friends and family is because if you interact with your friends and family and talk about what's going on, usually your friends and family love you, and they're going to encourage you to get away from the person and out of the relationship. So it's one of the ways they protect their hold on the relationship and the dynamics of the relationship remaining, even though it's dysfunctional, is by disconnecting you from those that could potentially protect you from the relationship. So it's important to speak up. If you find that you're miserable all the time, what I would say is that's 100% your responsibility. You're responsible for your attitude. You are the steward of how you choose to feel in response to life. You are the only person that's ever going to be a steward of that. However, we can expose ourselves to things that make us unhappy. You can go grab a bunch of stinging nettles, and that can hurt your hands because you didn't know how to properly interact with that aspect of life. So you can go get in a relationship and get real involved with a toxic person that's spilling poison into everyone's cup because you didn't understand the dynamics of that relationship and the level of involvement you should or should not have. So it's important to speak up. If you feel like you're being isolated from friends and family, get your throat chakra open. Go talk to somebody about it. Go talk to a counselor. Support yourself in having that which you seek and the life that you seek. Because there are many that will spend an entire lifetime in a physically, mentally, or emotionally abusive relationship. And I assure you, more joy is available to those people if they will speak up and choose again. Because we have to be the steward of the path that we walk. One of the other slices of this pie called Speak Up that I wanted to talk about is also in this dynamic of relationship. In my experience, many people, and it's not just women expecting this of men or men and women, that doesn't have to do with genitals. There are many people that expect their partner, their friend, to be intuitive. So, for many of you, your friend, your partner is not a psychic, A. B, even if they are, if they're a psychic full-time professionally, their third eye's a little tired and needs a break when they're not working. They're hanging out with you. So there can be a fundamental expectation, especially if you are very powerful psychic, very powerful intuitive. You tend to intuit people's needs and tend to care for people for needs they haven't even expressed. It's really important that you not project that your partner or your friend should also intuit for you, because you do have a voice, and your voice can very clearly communicate what your needs are. So let's say you have a lot of Cancer in your chart, you're a natural nurturer, you tend to make chicken noodle soup for people when they're sick, you're going to go get them a cold washcloth for their forehead. You tend to be a steward of nurturing care when someone is ill. You might want or anticipate that your partner or your family member or your friend is going to do the same for you. And then you might find yourself disgruntled and disappointed when they don't do the same for you. There is kind of an innate fundamental nature of narcissism in every two-legged. There's egotism in every two-legged. I mean, we can all want to say oh, this group of people's this way, but there's an innate quality for every two-legged that we tend to be pretty self-involved. And anyone watching this video, just think about how much you think about yourself. Certainly you think of others, but so much consciousness is based on, how do I look while I do this? Was that stupid what I just said? So much of the consciousness of any two-legged, due to the ego matrix, is going to revolve around the individual and thoughts around the individual. I always think about going to a club. Everybody in the club is thinking whether they look cute in their outfit or they look cool in the way they dance. And they're so self-involved, no one actually sees anyone else. So don't worry about whether you look cute or you look cool. Just go in and do the thing, because everyone's thinking about themselves anyhow, My sister taught me that ages ago, and I was like, yeah, I think about it all the time. I'm like, yeah, people are thinking about themselves. Too busy thinking about themselves, think about whether you look cute in those jeans. Just go be yourself and have fun. But what I would say is it's valuable in any relationship that you give voice to what the need is. So let's say you have a partner, let's say you have a life mate, to say to them, if you know you're an innate, natural, intuitive nurturer, and you've recognized through your time with them that they're not, then to say to them, when I'm sick, what would support me is if you could set a calendar reminder on your phone every hour to check in with me and say, do you have any needs I can meet? Now, maybe they're not doing that because they weren't raised by people that were checking in on their needs when they were sick. So they don't have the tools or the faculty to offer that to you. But anyone that loves you is typically willing to support you and willing to help and willing to care for you. But they may need guidance. They may need you to speak up. They may need you to be clear about what your needs are and to express your needs. And this is a topic that is important to me personally, because even though I am Sagittarius with Gemini rising and Libra and all these things that like to talk, I am a Scorpio cusping sun by 0 degrees. So I'm literally right on the line. I'm half and half Scorpio and Sagittarius. And I'm so close to that line that my Mercury, or my communication sector, is Scorpio. It's also my North Node. It's my Dharma. I came to teach the world. Scorpio. Transformation, freedom of sexuality, freedom of sexual expression, death, acknowledging death, transmuting energy. And in that process of having all that Scorpio with a Cancer Mars and Cancer Moon, I've got all this water elemental. Water elemental tends to be more introverted. It tends to be more silent. And certainly I talk plenty. I'm making video right now. But there is, I would say, is much more volume in this world, in this life of mine, that I have not said. There's much more that I do not say. And many of my conversations will revolve around my association and identification with what someone else is saying to me, rather than establishing my viewpoint, because my viewpoint, being someone on the shamanic path, is typically very counter to the normative. And it can be uncomfortable for two-leggeds, and it's just like, whatever, you be at peace. I don't need you to agree with me. So I just don't share it. But I'm learning more and more as I age, there is value in me sharing my unique perspective. There is value in me saying what I think about politics, saying what I think about vaccinations, saying what I think about abortion, saying what I think. And so usually these topics I will not dip into, because two-leggeds are so egotistical and righteous in their own opinions. We're a bunch of opinion sacks, and we're all like, I'm right. I mean, I have yet to find a two-legged that doesn't agree with their opinion sack. Haven't found it. And typically, nearly every two-legged, self included, is very righteous about their opinion sack. My opinion is the right opinion. As I age more and more, I try to understand that all 7.9 billion opinions are right, even though they disagree, and probably each person is their own individuated multiverse. So in their world, their opinion is right in that world. You know what I mean? So I kind of try to drop as much as I can some of that ego around me being right in my opinion sack. However, there is value in me sharing my opinion sack, because I do have a lot of left of center opinions, left, right, middle, I don't know, up, down, probably underworld realm opinions to the normative. And a lot of my life I learned, don't share that, because then everybody gets upset and gets real triggered and needs to change my mind, which is weird, because when I say something very counter to the normative, everybody takes up the bandwagon, and we need to get Heather on our program called The Normative. It's okay. Have you heard of diversity? I don't know. I don't need to agree with you. Instead of you assuming I'm a fool and you need to teach me something, maybe receive that there could be innate wisdom in what I believe too. And you don't have to agree with it, and I don't need to change your mind, but you sure as heck don't need to change mine. But it doesn't mean that I have to be quiet about what I think just because it may make others uncomfortable. I'm never responsible for how others respond to life. And the fact is, no matter how saintly I may try to live in a life, still there will be two-leggeds that judge me. There will be two-leggeds that judge me for being saintly. Well, doesn't she just think she's so pure? It just doesn't matter what you do. There is judgment present here, because every two-legged has an ego, and the ego, the great discerner that's supposed to discern and label things like fire is hot, is now our great judger. Fire is evil. Fire's bad. Don't touch it. So now the ego is run rampant with just judging everything. So irrespective of the choices you make in your life, you will be judged. So you may as well be your authentic self, share your authentic self, speak up, speak your truth, speak your needs, speak your needs. I've spent a lot of my life kind of hoping, because I'm extremely, extremely, extremely psychic, that others would I just assume people are that way, and that they would just psychically intuit my needs. And instead, have most of my life had my needs not met, and just assume that it's a cruel, dark world. Which in a lot of ways it is, because we're so fear addicted in this realm, and thought is cause. And I would say I would have had a lot easier life if I would have given myself the freedom to say, hey, I have a need. I could use some support. Can you support me in this way? I notice beloved friends that come into my life. I have one now, a dear friend that's here, and will ask me, what is your need? And it's you should be able to answer that question. You should be able to know what your needs are. And if you don't know, I promise you, you're probably not talking about it. You're not talking to others about what your needs are and how you can be supported. No one is going to have a voice for you. You are your own voice. You are your own individuated spark of life. You are your own 30 trillion atoms. You are your own subatomic realm, cellular realm. You are your own quantum light consciousness, and you are the steward of it. And that means that if you want to be seen, heard, understood, known, if you want to connect to more of what's available to you, then it's time to speak up. Go to rearbirdmedicine.com. We have 4 classes coming up by the end of this year. We'd love to see you in there. Blessed be.